It's Tuesday, man, and you know what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about WWE Raw, and man, you've got some good setup for some segues for Blue Chew ads. They really Raw was very beneficial for that. But it's Rumor and Innuendo. I'm Dominic D'Angelo, and I am with Robert Karplis, former WWE writer, WWE Creative _ish on X. Robert, happy Tuesday to you, man.
Happy Tuesday. I don't know what's going on with my hair.
That's all right.
This is where I'm at. I just jumped off one meeting and then came here and I was like, oh, here we are. So welcome everybody who is joining us live in the chat. Jake has a comment here. You know what? I'm still not logged into the system to be able to put it up there. Jake wrote, good morning, all. Well, not for Dominic. Yeah, rough night for, well, it depends. Look, there's a lot of people out there, I'm thinking, namely Shane McMahon, who would love the opportunity to beat their father up on national television. Yeah, interesting night of Raw, interesting stories that they were telling. And what else we got on tap, Mr. D'Angelo?
Yes, sir. We're going to talk about Raw in depth here, but we also have some big announcer news when it comes to WWE coming up. Joe Tessitore has signed with WWE, so we'll cover a little bit of that. And if we have time, we'll talk about Ethan Page, your new NXT champion. And tonight there'll be NXT, so there'll be a follow up to that. So, but Robert, yeah, let's get to it. Lots to take away from Raw. I caught the majority of it. I'll be forthright and say I did not see the main event and didn't see all this stuff that unfolded with all of it. But what I did see, I really liked. I think WWE is really cooking on all cylinders when it comes to keeping fans interested. And it's at least caught my interest in a great deal of it. And there was a lot of cool stuff that they did, I think. And part of that was kicking off Raw with some big confrontation between CM Punk and Seth Rollins. Punk came out, stated his case about why he did what he did with Drew McIntyre and wanted a piece of Drew McIntyre, and wanted Adam Pearce to lift the suspension that he put upon Drew. And here we get Seth Rollins instead. And Seth was not happy. Punk was not happy with Seth, did apologize, wasn't really forthright. And then we got more confrontation with them, with Seth warning Punk down the road. What'd you think of that opening segment, Robert?
So Punk, to start, I thought was doing great. The resetting the table, telling everyone the story once again. He's good in he sort of does what someone who's a preacher or you're giving public speaking, you strike on a narrative phrase that you keep coming back to. And in that case, it was consequences to stupid actions. And It was constantly repeating the various things that Drew McIntyre has done of late to bring this upon himself, and all the ways in which Punk has cost him the title, and that he will do everything he can to continue to cost Drew McIntyre the title. I thought that was really well done. The shot at AEW, yes, it was funny for the moment about, hey, there's people behind the camera here. Which is something we know obviously does not happen with AEW. There's an army of pictures out there of half empty and 3/4 empty arenas. And after my years at the Panthers, I'm always sensitive to seeing large empty arenas. There used to be a Twitter account that all they did was post empty seats at arenas, and we were a nightly fixture.
I could imagine.
Yes, it was like everything looked like.
Now, I think it's still probably going to happen sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm sure it'll go back to you get your own section night at the arena. But here I am telling Punk, don't be bitter about your ex. When Seth came out, I loved him going to the commentary booth and pointing out how long it takes Rollins to come out, because it sure does take him a long ass time. And I'm always of two minds of that. As a viewer, get to the action.
Yeah.
As someone who has had to script and time out these shows, anything that's going to kill time, sign me up. Give me long entrances. Give me video packages. Give me extra commercial breaks. Whatever's going to make my job easier, I'm all in favor of. But Punk, pointing this out, that it does take Seth a little while to get down to the ring, was kind of fun. But then when they got in the ring, it's like the wheels fell off. you're currently working on a play
Yeah,
that Sherlock Holmes and the never wearing sleeves,
that's it. Hmm.
and it was like one actor was in one scene, and then another actor had jumped to another scene, and they didn't know where they were.
Right.
And it became very uncomfortable to watch. Not in the boy, I can't wait to see this confrontation, and more of the somebody lost his place.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if that was Seth was supposed to say something to trigger Punk's next line, or Punk got lost in thought. Whatever it was very, very clunky. It made me flash back to there was an Eddie Guerrero promo,
Hmm.
and SmackDown thankfully was taped at that time, and it was a bunch of people in the ring. It was Teddy Long, Batista. I want to say Palmer Cannon was still there at that point, and Eddie kind of lost his place, and he was kind of meandering and meandering. And one of the guys ringside tried to tell him the next line, and he just turns to him in front of the entire audience and just goes, "You're not helping." So we had to obviously cut around some of that. That was kind of what this felt like a little bit. The takeaway is Seth is angry. He's coming after Punk while Punk is also feuding with Drew, who wants his revenge on Punk, but also wants his world title back and wants his revenge on the bloodline, which doesn't really the bloodline anymore. So a lot of moving pieces, a lot of fun spots to pivot, but I don't see any reason why they would not still stick with Drew and Punk at SummerSlam.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think there's any reason to deter from that. I think I thought that overall some of the stuff that was said in the content of the promo, I thought was pretty engaging, kind of like, ooh, that's a nice little dig. I think Seth had a couple, and I think Punk both had a couple at one another. Yeah, I did come off a little clunky at certain points, and but yeah, I think it sets some stuff up where like Punk's got to kind of watch his back now too, and it's gonna be interesting. I thought Seth in his role this week, he didn't come across as like hey, chanting the for your sports team kind of thing. It was more so, hey, okay, this fits his role. If he's playing a baby face, this is more in his lane as the type of baby face you're kind of looking for. But yeah, it's still kind of wondering where he's gonna go with all this, in the grand scheme of all for Seth. Like he doesn't really capture me as a baby face that much still.
It's kind of an epidemic that they have right now, I think, with some of the folks on Raw. I think that Seth is a babyface in name only.
Mm-hmm.
He's not really the babyface that we're used to right now in 2024. Cody Rhodes has kind of reshaped it where we're almost back to the white meat babyface again,
Right.
which is not something we're used to seeing. Another guy I think who's suffering greatly from that is Damian Priest.
Oh, okay. Go. Yeah.
Priest is, Priest is a heel who leads a heel faction, yet he wants to be noble and altruistic and win on his own merits and be his own man, which the audience has no idea what to do with. We want simple. We want, if you're a babyface, we're going to cheer you. If you're a heel, we're going to boo you. And when we don't know what to do, the default response for the audience is silence.
Yeah.
The only way to back that up is, oh man, if this guy's over delivering in the ring, I don't really care. And while Priest has been fine, give or take a couple of pretty egregious botches, I don't think he's been lighting the world on fire where, oh man, you got to see this Damian Priest match. That's where it's a little challenging. And I think his interaction with Seth, where he said, hey, I know we had this gentleman's agreement. I'll still give you a shot if I keep the title from Gunther. What?
Yeah, that's definitely a babyface move.
it's a babyface move, and it's a stupid babyface move, which is the hallmark of the old Vince McMahon era. So I don't know what we're doing with it. I think that Judgment Day will reset starting next week, which we'll get to a little later on in this show. But as far as Priest goes, Gunther winning the title can't come soon enough.
Yeah. So I agree with you in regards to Gunther's gonna win and stuff like that. I'm more interested in Damian Priest. I think I like what they're doing with it because I think you do run into that issue that you just mentioned about like, hey, crowd doesn't know necessarily what to do when you have a heel faction that's their leader is basically acting like a baby face. So where do we go with this in regards to a reaction? But I do think he's a pretty captivating character, and where he's put in this situation, I think people can connect with that guy because he's like, all right, he is a leader. He's showing his leadership abilities and like kind of being like this guy that is likable. And I think they're setting us up for a babyface turn for him ultimately when it comes to the Judgment Day and things like that. But it's also, yeah, you're kind of putting yourself in this hard predicament. But I think WWE's kind of seeing in the playing the long game with Damian Priest rather than the immediate of, okay, we're getting these crowd reactions that might not be the best thing when it comes to what we want to portray with Dominic or Finn Balor or anybody in the Judgment Day as heels. But here's Damian Priest, where we might not be getting the biggest reaction for him, but I think they're setting the table up for something for him more future down the line when he will likely drop the title to Gunther at SummerSlam. So
We'll see, but
yeah,
I don't want to be ageist, but Priest and I are the same age.
yeah,
He's not a guy that you're building 10 years down the road. This is the time now where you're going to get your maximum money out of Damian Priest. And the fact that we still haven't fully figured it out, a little concerning just in terms of, for me, for interest. But, I hope that they, prove me wrong, kids. Prove me wrong. Where do you want to take us next?
yeah. Well, you kind of mentioned about waiting and seeing yesterday after Money in the Bank with the certain storyline of Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker, and we got a continuation of that. What did you think? Was that sufficient enough to keep your interest? Was it just like part of the course, or was it lesser than?
I loved it. I think they did what they needed to do. It's kind of what we predicted yesterday as you're drinking your Prime Energy. Prime, not a sponsor of this show. They're sponsoring WWE. How dare you? But
hydration station here.
You boggle my mind. The Sammy promo, this idea of I'm not an underdog, I'm a champion, I've established who I am. A good way to you're calling a spade a little bit. You're saying, look, I get that people thought Braun was going to win and they're angry about it. But just a reminder, like, I was your number one babyface last year. I was your number one contender for the world title. Y'all wanted to see me beat Roman. At one point, you wanted to see me replace Cody. I'm not just a random dude. Give me a little bit of credit, a little bit of respect for it. And then Braun Breaker coming out there and did what we had predicted. Hey, I'm going to give you a little bit of respect, and then immediately just straight up murder you.
Yeah.
And then they put him in there with Ilya Dragunov. He throws a chair at him and then murders Dragunov and Sammy. So we will get that match at SummerSlam, whether that is a triple threat or a one-on-one match. I hope they keep it with one-on-one. But you're now telling the story of, yes, Sami Zayn did beat Braun Breaker, but can he really do it again? Yeah. That's an interesting story.
I guess, I don't know. It's like he should have beat him first, I still think, but I don't know. They could
he could have, but then it's like, but then where do you go? I think what happened here, in all honesty, if you're looking at the chessboard, guys, it felt like what we were planning on getting at SummerSlam was Sami Zayn versus Ludwig Kaiser. They were building this Kaiser Sheamus mini feud. Mm-hmm. Ludwig wins. He then demands the challenge. So then you have both members of Imperium challenging for gold at the PLE. When Kaiser got sidelined, you needed to pivot to someone else. And the mid-card heels that they have, your Bronson Reeds, your Karrion Kross, not really compelling to face Sammy at SummerSlam, which is the WrestleMania of the summer.
Yes.
They're fine at a smaller event. Cool. Let's give Braun Breaker the shot. But if you beat him right off the bat, or if you beat Sammy right off the bat, you're getting a rematch, which is lesser than. So I like that it's Sammy kept it. And now you're seeing, well, what's Braun Breaker going to do? If that's what Braun Breaker did just as the initial challenger, imagine what this guy is going to do when he thinks he needs to prove something. So right. I don't mind it. But, it's going to be a good match, and it's giving something for these guys to do in the coming weeks, and it doesn't involve Braun Strowman.
It's very true. We did have a match that did involve Braun Strowman. Is there anything you want to take away from that, Robert?
I want to take that match away.
Okay,
Uh,
let's take it away.
the problem they have with Strowman, he's big, he's impressive. You want to use him, but he's still not good in the ring.
Yeah.
After all these years, you don't really. It's kind of the Omos problem. You don't want to let the guy loose because you look at him, you go, how do you not make money off of this guy? But then if you put him in an actual serious situation, at one point they were teasing Strowman and Priest. Thank God we didn't get that. That seemed to be where they were going for Money in the Bank. And then thankfully Raw was like, I'll do it. So we were good. But now it's like it's been Braun Strowman versus JD McDonough for the last like 3 months.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Which is fine, but I don't know what you're really getting from him.
Right. What are we getting from the Wyatt Six? Do you like that? Do you like what we're seeing?
You know what I am?
Me too.
So I'm very hesitant because eventually they're going to get in the ring and the bell's going to ring. They're going to have a match. But the video package of this continuation of this concept of grief, this idea of wanting to be remembered, that Bo Dallas wants Bray Wyatt's memory to be remembered, that he wants to be remembered, and that the people in the Wyatt Six are men and women who have been marginalized and sort of forgotten about. Eric Rowan, Nikki Cross, Dexter Lumis, Joe Gacy. And this was the first time they kind of peeled back the mask and showed who was behind. We all knew, but now we see who's behind them. And you felt a sense of menace that when he was in Adam Pearce's office, that was a straight up horror movie moment. And that wasn't Uncle Howdy. That wasn't spooky lighting. It was just that dude sitting in there. And you're like, oh, this is not a good situation. This is Robert De Niro in Cape Fear. This is, don't go in there, Pierce.
Yeah.
You're screaming at their TV. Shout out, by the way, to Jey Uso. His sees the creepy music, hits the spear, and then immediately bounces.
Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
It was quality stuff. Him like eating real quick and then getting out. It was good stuff. I'm really fascinated by it. I like everything they're setting up with it. And yeah, to your point, seeing Bo Dallas, like no creepy filter, no lighting, nothing like that. It's just him sitting in there. Added some stakes to the whole matter and made it feel humanized him, but also like added the creepiness.
It did. I do like the this comment here from the Wrestling Old Head. He asks, do you think they're going for a Raven-esque vibe with Bo Dallas? That would be the way to go.
Yeah.
You know, Raven under Paul Heyman and ECW was not spooky. He was a cult leader. And if the idea is Bo Dallas is in the ear of these guys saying, I'm going to help you get remembered. You are my family. We are in this together. I love that a lot more than, ooh, spooky.
Yes. All Jake follows that up. It says basically what you just said. I love that this is all more a psychological thriller versus a slasher film. I'm 100% with you on that, Jake. But Robert, let's talk about Liv and Dom. You got to almost kind of explain to me what happened because I didn't, like I said, I did not see the entire main event. So I saw, oh my God, Rhea Ripley come out, but I don't know anything else that really happened. So fill me in.
So, yeah, so they set up this mixed tag match, tries to beg off. He asks Adam Pearce to cancel it. Liv's like, no, this is a chance for you to show who the real daddy is. And then they did a segment in the back where Liv was stretching out Dom's leg, very reminiscent of the moment, which was an all-timer, because that in and of itself was a ripoff from an episode of Saved by the Bell, which makes it the Hold Me Closer Slater, which makes it even better. The one thing that struck me about that segment, guys, Liv has Dom on the couch. She is straddling him. She's pulling on his leg. She leaves when Judgment.
Oh, Robert. Oh yeah, he froze. He was giving us the monologue. Uh-oh. Is he frozen, guys? You let me know. I did see. You good?
There we go. Yep, I was there, and then all of a sudden I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Let me try this theoretically again.
Yes.
Dominic Mysterio has this beautiful woman on his lap stretching his leg. All of a sudden, she leaves. Dom stands up without issue, which makes me think, you know what Dom could use?
What?
I think this man could use some Blue Chew. Guys, our next sponsor needs no introduction. You've seen the ads. You've heard us talk about it a million times. And I bet there's a big part of you, pun intended, that's wanted to try it. What am I talking about? Blue Chew. That's right. This isn't your grandpa's Blue Chew pill. Blue Pill. This is the one, the OG chewable tablet for better sex. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. We just celebrated 4th of July, guys, and these are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Probably Dominic a little happy he didn't pop his Blue Chew before that match. But let's face it, guys, Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Blue Chew wants the entire country rock hard. They told me that's the mission. They will not stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house. I swear that's what's written here. Till every tent is pitched, till every rod is raised. That's not Rod McMahon, but discover your options at BlueChew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code RUMOR to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this episode of Rumor and Innuendo. I will point out here that Dude Felice points out that, yes, Carlito did point out that Dom Dom had a decent boner. Thanks for making us aware of that. Super appreciative. Considering I worked with Dom during the paternity stuff, and he was like a little kid. It's very I don't like this. What I did like was the main event.
Okay.
So Rey Mysterio and Dom have tremendous chemistry. Very awkward coming off of a Blue Chew ad. Talk about father and son chemistry, but they're fluid. Again, poor choice of words. There's just a synergy to what they're able to pull off in the ring that's really fun to watch. And this being the first time that Dom gets the win over Rey because of what Liv Morgan did. Brilliant storytelling. Liv hugs Dom, mounts Dom. It looks like they're finally going to kiss. And here comes Rhea Ripley. Absolutely loved it. We knew what was going to happen. They teased it a little earlier with Damian Priest getting a phone call from someone who was going to be showing up. No one's calling Damian Priest. So we kind of knew. And Liv hightailing it, Dom trying to go for the hug, being denied. Raw ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and that's super fun.
Yeah, and it's cool to see Rhea back, and it's neat that that they have set this up. They made the most of losing her for the time being, and incorporating Liv into a storyline where I'd almost felt like before this all happened that Liv was almost on a babyface track, but this really pivoted her in this whole storyline.
She was a babyface, and then they turned her because she's very good as this sort of temptress.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. She fits it very well. It's been a lot of fun. And like just the moments that they're getting, not just on television, but what they're putting out there on social media has been a pretty big payoff, I think, for them too. I think they're making the most of what happened, and I think it's making this story all the more intriguing between what we're going to get between Rhea and Liv and Dom as well. So, yeah.
I think it's intriguing. What's also intriguing is the other headline that you have up here.
Yes. Joe Tessitore, famed ESPN announcer that was mostly notable for boxing before he transitioned for Monday Night Football for a hot minute and college football as well, will be joining WWE commentary and will be joining Corey Graves and Wade Barrett. Per press release from WWE, it was initially revealed on the New York Post, but WWE made the announcement, and Joe Tessitore had a quote. It says, "It's an honor to be a part of WWE. The recent success and trajectory are undeniable," said Tessitore. "Being there at WrestleMania 40, one could feel it. From Cody, Seth, Roman, and The Rock to creative and production, these are some very best storytellers in TV. Corey and Wade are an absolute stars, and it is my privilege to join their team. Pat and Cole are just magical together, and Cole is the greatest to ever sit in that chair. As a lifelong viewer, I'm humbled to join this team and serve our fans." It should be noted, too, that Tessitore was actually a client of Nick Khan way back in the day. And so they already had a relationship. And so I like Tessitore, Robert, even just from the simple aspect of the boxing standpoint comes into play. But there's been a precedent set for a lot of these sports commentators going into the WWE product and it kind of not working out. What do you see with Tessitore here being implemented in the product, especially with Corey Graves and Wade Barrett?
I absolutely think this can work. I think one of the advantage for Tessitore is that he is a fan.
Yeah.
When they brought in other folks that were not really fans of the product, it made it a little awkward. Also, Tessitore was one of the co-hosts of that Holy Moly show with Rob Riggle. It was on ABC. It was like a mini golf show. So he's not going to take himself too seriously. He knows the role he needs to play. He's going to be directing traffic with Barrett and Graves, who I think are a great duo, but they do need a straight man to play off of. I always enjoyed when Tessitore would do SEC games, when he would do some of the Gator games. Those were a lot of fun. His stuff on Monday Night Football was just fine. Mm-hmm. He's someone who's going to be able to treat it seriously. Like you said, boxing background. I have boxing background, having worked in boxing before I worked at WWE. So I can completely see where being able to tell those stories in the ring is invaluable. I think he's going to be absolutely incredible. Nick Khan client, so it's perfect synergy. And he's also someone, if it works, that you can move some folks around when Pat is potentially, on his hiatus, going to do game day or something.
That's a great point.
You can go back to Graves and Cole on Raw and Barrett and Tessitore on SmackDown.
Right. And I got to commend Corey Graves for what he has been able to do at steering that ship for SmackDown for how long. And I know he'll still be a valuable part of it and all that stuff. But it's just like very impressive to see the trajectory he came in from being a wrestler to doing what he's able to do now with.
So how much of that is you liking Graves and how much of that is Pittsburgh homerism?
I liked Graves before I even knew he was from Pittsburgh. So there we go.
There you go. Well, he's my second favorite broadcaster from Pittsburgh. My first favorite, Mr. Dominic D'Angelo, who hosts a number of very exciting, very compelling podcasts across a number of different networks. Dom, where can the fine folks find you?
Yes, you can find me every Monday at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Rob Van Dam. One of a Kind with RVD drops every Monday, 4:20 p.m. We got the new episode. We aired it up. We originally went live on the 4th of July. So we talked a lot of American-themed wrestlers, covered a lot of great ground on there. And speaking of Eddie Guerrero, he tells a great Eddie Guerrero story. So take a look at that. Be sure to give it 5 stars for that 5-star frog splash on all those podcast formats. But also, you can check out Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA, Greg Gagne. New episode is going to be dropping today, later this afternoon. So be on the lookout for that. We cover a lot of great ground on there from some crazy, crazy stories and some great fan questions. So go to fourhorsemannetwork.com and be sure to check out the new Magnum and Greg Gagne. Robert, we got Working Stiff coming up, but you guys are going to have plenty to talk about this weekend.
We're going to have a hell of a lot to talk about. It'd be nice to catch up with Dan and Scott, and if Mike's around, Mike. We'll be talking all things WWE, AEW, and whatever random nonsense winds up popping up in our group chat. That's kind of the fun of that show. It's literally our group chat in audio format, in between some vicious jokes. It's you put me with a bunch of comedians, it gets real blue real quick. It's a lot of fun. We got a Patreon there. I actually just recorded my Patreon for Something to Sports Entertainment with, which Mr. D'Angelo will be posting momentarily. This is my way of reminding you, Dom, that it's in your inbox. This is how we communicate, guys. But we communicate with all of you every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern. A plethora of platforms, including the WWE Creative _ish X account, Dominic D'Angelo X account, the SE Scoops X account, Rumor and Innuendo X account, the Working Stiff X account, and on YouTube on ad-free shows. Jeff Jarrett, you hear that? Double J, we're on ad-free shows, YouTube live right now. We thank y'all for, I don't know why I'm saying a lot of y'alls. I went to North Carolina a couple weeks ago for work. It's like stuck. I don't say y'all. I'm not a y'all guy.
Say
all right.
yin.
I'm a northern guy. I'm not going to put up with this nonsense. And on behalf of the no nonsense Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Happy Tessitore Tuesday, everyone.